Hi students. So, in this session we are going to discuss about Mann-Whitney U test. In previous session we have discussed about the procedure of doing sign test. So, in the current video we are going to discuss about the definition of the Mann-Whitney U test and the different case scenario, and we will be discussing about how to proceed with the Mann-Whitney U test. So, definition about Mann-Whitney U test. The Mann-Whitney U test is the popular alternative to t-test of the difference between means of two independent samples. In other words, Mann-Whitney U test is a rank order test of a difference between two independent groups or sample. We should consider using it when our measurements are weaker than interval scaling or even with the interval scale measurements. So, when our samples are small and we have a serious doubt about the distributional assumption, so in that case we have to go for the Mann-Whitney U test when compared to the t-test for the independent sample. Next, we can discuss about further about Mann-Whitney U test. The null hypothesis is that the two samples come from the population with the same distribution. If the two population distributions are of even moderately similar shape, like they can have the same shape and variability, the Mann-Whitney U test is also an excellent test for the central tendency. Because of this test is based on ranks, the most closely corresponding measures of central tendency will be median when compared to mean. Now, we can see about a case scenario. Suppose we are having two factories. You are a production planner, you want to see if the operating rates for the two factories whether it is same or not, since we have two independent groups. So, for factory 1, the rates that is mentioned in the percentage of the capacity are 85, 82, 94 and 97. The same way for factory 2, we are having a different rates, that is 71, 82, 77, 92 and 88. So, do the factory rates have the same probability distribution at the 5% level of significance? If you have given this problem, then how to proceed? The better way is go for Mann-Whitney U test. Now, we will discuss about the steps involved in Mann-Whitney U test, that is methodology. So, to conduct the test, follow these procedures. So, step 1, label the two groups, the two independent groups, let us x and y. If one group contains fewer than the other, it must be labeled as S. For example, if x has smaller value than the y, then we have to label it as x. Combine all the scores into one distribution, say nx plus ny cases, then assign the rank of 1 to the lowest score, 2 to the next lowest, like that we have to rank it like 1 and 2 and so on until you rank all the observations. Step 3 will be like find the summation Rx, nothing but we are going to sum up all the ranks what we have calculated. So, based upon the x distribution, and we have to calculate the test statistics Ux, which will be given as a formula as nx into ny plus nx into nx plus 1 by 2 minus that summation of the rank what we have calculated earlier. The next step will be we have to submit the researching report, but it is providing by the obtained value of the u. So, we have to calculate the u, then only we have to submit the report. So, that will be a perfect one for giving a conclusion. So, however, for our convenience, let us look at the table in the next slide, which will give the critical value of the summation Rx corresponding for the one tailed probability, like different values of probability 0.05, like 0.01, 0.025, like we have different values of probability and for different values of nx values. So, it will be like the upcoming slide, the table will show the values for 3 to 15 and for ni values it will take 3 to 15, like that we have to see in the table. So, now we can see in the table this is the nothing but the critical value for the Mann-Whitney U test, and people can able to see like we have different nx and different ny and we have the values for at different alphas. So, 0.05, 0.025, like that we have different values. Next, we can discuss about the last step, like we have to calculate the row entries of the table corresponding to nx and ny. Then we have to follow the procedure, like what we are going to do it, whether we are going to accept it or whether we are going to reject it. So, for that we have three different kind of procedures. First one is like the alternative hypothesis states that only two population distributions are different in the same way. So, we have to find the pair of numbers corresponding to the column heading equal to alpha by 2, as I told earlier. If suppose we are considering alpha as 0.05, so we will be defined as 0.025. So, we have to divide it by 2. So, reject H naught if suppose that calculated value that we are notating as summation R x calculated equal to the false below the lower number or whether it is equal to the higher number or whether it is exit. So, we have to check the condition whether it falls within the interval or not. Next, we have to check it for the x is less than y. So, it will be like we have to check for the pair of numbers corresponding to the column heading equal to alpha. The same way we are going to do here, but in this case we are not going to divide by 2. This is single tail. Previous one is about 2 tails, so we have divided by 2. So, same procedure. The only difference will be like we have to add designated by for the value 0.05. So, reject h naught if the summation that calculated value is equal to or falls below the lower number. Then the right opposite, we have to check it like whether it is exit the higher number. We are checking for the right tail. The previous one is the left tail. Then if suppose we come across larger sample, then how to proceed with the Mann-Whitney U test. So, as sample size increases, the distribution of U comes to resemble a normal curve. Previously we told like it is a central limit theorem. So, based upon the central limit theorem, whenever our distribution tends to, as n tends to infinity, the distribution will be tending towards normal distribution. So, thus when the sample size are too large, to use the critical value table will be so difficult. So, we can calculate the Mann-Whitney U test statistic based upon the large sample approximation. So, this is the formula. So, Z equal to Ux minus Nx Ny divided by 2 and the square root of Nx Ny Nx plus Ny plus 1 divided by 12, and the criteria will be like negative values of Z imply x will be less than y and positive will be like vice versa, s is greater than y. So, in this video we have discussed about the definition of Mann-Whitney U test, then how to proceed with the Mann-Whitney U test, and at last we have discussed about the large sample approximation for Mann-Whitney U test. In the next video we will be discussing about how to solve the problem using sign test and Mann-Whitney U test. Thank you.